We're going live. Yeah. Oh, okay. So we should. Yeah, we're live. Awesome. We've got 18 people with us so far.
That was rather quick.
24. Considering the audience we got for the Peanut Festival, I'd wait
Another minute?
Yeah, see if everyone can.
How many did you end up getting for the Peanut Festival?
There were about 170 something viewing live stream.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Then again, that was the Peanut Festival.
I was one of them.
You were. Okay. The number looks to be staying pretty steady now, so if you'd like to.
Okay. Hi, good evening and welcome to our Wilson County News Floresville City Council Candidates Forum. This is live from our Wilson County News office in downtown Floresville. All 6 candidates that are on the ballot for the November 3rd elections for city council seats were invited to participate. With us this evening we have Eduardo, Ortiz Villarreal, Paul Sack, and Nick Nissen. We will be fielding questions to the 3 candidates throughout the evening. They will have turns to introduce themselves at the very beginning. Each question will be posed to each candidate, who will have 2 minutes to respond, and then we'll go to the next question. If there's time at the end of our forum this evening, we will take questions from viewers and community members, so be sure if you do have a question to pose it in our thread, our comment thread to this Facebook Live. At this point in time, we would like to begin our proceedings with an invocation which will be offered by our social media specialist, Julia Weaver.
Hello, and thank you again for joining us. If you'd like to join me in prayer, please feel free. Bow your head, take your hats off as respect to God. Heavenly Father, we ask that you cast your guidance over us this evening as we listen to a few of our candidates in this local election. We ask that you guide our minds and our hearts to make the right decisions as election dates come forward, as voting dates come forward. We ask that you guide and help our early voters to make the right decisions for them and for their communities and country. We ask that we have a large amount of voters turn out this year for all of the elections, whether it's local or, the regular election. And we thank you for getting us this far. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Julia. And again, I'm Nanette Kilby-Smith, editor with the Wilson County News. And at this time, we will introduce the 3 candidates who have presented themselves for this forum. And I'd like to start with you, Mr. Nissen, if you would please introduce yourself and give a brief outline of who you are and why you're running for office.
Well, I'm Nick Nissen. I'm running for candidate 5. I'm running against Gloria Cantu. She's been on council for a little bit now, and I moved to this town figuring we would be a town that would be low on taxes, pretty conservative, but I was really surprised. And when I was on council, I found out why we weren't a conservative town, why we were a town that want to spend money. And it was just controlled by a few people, and that's the reason I really want to run, is to change some of the attitudes of the people who want to just spend money, because we know for a fact we can't pay the bills right now. But I appreciate the vote for me, and have a nice evening. We'll talk later.
And Mr. Sack.
My name is Paul Sack. I'm a resident of Floresville since 2002. I live in town. Over the last 18 years, I've been involved in a number of things with the city, the charter, the Chamber of Commerce, the Lions Club, and a few other things in the city. And lastly, I was involved with the Floresville Parks Foundation.
Thank you. And Ed.
Hi, my name is Eduardo Ortiz Villarreal. I'm 26 years old and I'm currently seeking place 3, Floresville City Council. The reason I'm running would pretty much come down to change. I do strongly believe that we need change, as do all of the people that I've talked to thus far. I think that some of the things that our current leadership believe are going well or are positive maybe are not so, and I think that we need to take closer looks at some of these issues that we face that ultimately result in us having a negative budget and no money to spend on anything whatsoever. So we'll get to the bottom of that.
Thank you. Okay, if you would please gather your thoughts, and viewers, gather your thoughts too, just in case you have any questions for us toward the end. And we'll pose our first question. We're going to start with you, Mr. Nissen, for this one. What do you see as the greatest achievement for the city of Floresville during 2020?
Really, the only achievement I seen was how well the mayor, Mrs. Dipple, communicated with us to get our mask on, help close down, control some of the stores in the city on the COVID. That was really a challenge. It wasn't a crisis management like a lot of things that happened. She was calm, collective, and she put a lot of stuff out on the internet, and which that was to me the biggest achievement for 2020. The city really never made a good achievement because they were low on money, so there was nothing they can do. The city council had really no control over the money spending. The city manager had no control over the money spending, which we went out of budget, and the audit showed we went from an A- to a triple B-. It's nothing to brag about, and that's where I want to work to see if we can get it back up to an A-, even though we're going to be short a lot of money. It's going to be very hard to do. The city still hasn't got the one well running. They're supposed to be working on it. So to me, I haven't seen a great achievement for year 2020. Now 2019 was a different story. We did real well that year for the city sewer plant, water lines, but not for 2020.
Thank you. And Mr. Sack, same question to you. The greatest achievement this year?
Well, actually, the greatest achievement that I have in my records is in 2019, the Floresville Parks Foundation, at the end of the year, dedicated the first dog park in Floresville. And immediately after that, we went back to the city and said, we have plans for a ballpark at the corner of A Street and 6th Street, right next to where the dog park is. We said we can put that ball field together for under $20,000. Not like the ball fields that they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on out by the event center. The city manager told me, no, we would not allow you to have the money that people have been putting on their monthly bills, $1 for the park foundation. Well, the city said that's our money, and then they said we are treating the Parks Foundation as a non-entity of this city, and that was it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ed?
Thank you. I'm going to go a bit of a different way with this one. Actually, I think the city of Floresville as a whole, residents, city board members, city council, our mayor, all of us, we've done really well coming out of a pandemic. I'd like to say coming out of a pandemic is really, we're doing really well. Our numbers are low. But I think what we should be, congratulated on is the fact that we opened up our restaurants. We've opened up our businesses in record time. We've had a city right next to us being San Antonio. Obviously it's huge, but the things that they're going through, the spike ups and the numbers coming back through protests and problems that they have that our small town doesn't, you know, we've done really well, and people have come together. We've followed the rules. You know, we've worn our masks. We've social distanced, and I think that we're getting out of this now. With the masks, you know, in the beginning, I was one that said, hey, you know, wear it if you want to. Now I do realize that, hey, they are beneficial. You know, I don't like to be in big crowds without my mask, but I was the first one, and I stand by it now, to say that when Floresville City Council decided to fine people for not wearing masks in our city, I was 100% against it, because that is 100% a violation of our liberty and our freedom. And I understand, you know, I don't want to be next to somebody without a mask either, but there's lines you don't cross. So, you know, congratulations to us for getting through it, and still wear your mask, but at the same time, we've got work to do.
Thank you. Okay, next question. What do you see as the greatest challenge the city faces going forward? And how do you foresee meeting that challenge? And Ed, we're going to start with you.
Okay, so coming in here, this is the only question that I didn't really have a good, solid answer. I wasn't satisfied myself, because we have a lot of challenges to face, and we can sit here all day and, you know, list them off. But I'm gonna stick with what I said in the newspaper that actually went out today. I think our political participation is at a very low percentage. A lot of people either don't vote, they don't care, or they just don't have time. We need more people to vote. We need more people to run. We need more people to speak up and talk. You know, if you see an issue, bring it forward. If you don't want to spend time and money running for one of these seats, talk to the people who are, find the one that fits you best, support them, and, you know, let's get our city going.
Thank you. Mr. Seneca.
Well, I believe that we have all types of potential within this city to move forward. The number one issue that is holding us back is the financial position of the city itself. But we have local groups, like again the Parks Foundation. We have other groups that clubs that want to participate, like the Lions Club is one. We have a great bunch of people at our school system. They all want to do things for the city, and I think what I would do if I'm on the city council is open up a pathway for those people to actually do something for the city that is beneficial for all.
Thank you.
I look at the greatest challenges internal of the city. I want to make sure the city employees keep getting their paycheck. We have no more layoffs. Make sure their retirements put into and their medical bills are paid. And the biggest challenge is how we're going to do that by paying all of our bills. And when we start making the payments on the sports part, we're going to start having money issues. But we can't defund the police department. We have to keep that going. And so everybody needs to keep the job that we have. We need to make sure that they come to work with a smile on their face. And how we're going to do it with the way the debt load is, I don't know, because I'm not there, and the city doesn't post the current finance stuff on the computer. They quit doing that about 3 years ago, and so it's got more sparse. So nobody can really look and see where we're standing. And when you read the audit book, because the audit's even a year behind, we cannot see where we're located financially. So the main thing is to keep all the people working that we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, thank you for joining us. This is the Wilson County News, Floresville City Council Candidates Forum, live from the Wilson County News office in downtown Floresville. And we are meeting with Floresville City Council candidates Ed Villarreal, Paul Sack, and Nick Nissen. Here's your next question, gentlemen. Since taxes are always an issue, how can Floresville meet its obligations without increasing property taxes? Mr. Sack will invite you to respond first.
I have no earthly idea of what we can do outside of the normal taxing avenues that we count on to run a city. Mr. Neeson is much more educated in the finances of the city than I am, so I'm going to defer to him.
Thank you, Paul.
Well, there you go.
We have to really look at everything that we have, and we don't want to keep taxing the ad valorem tax. That is killing the low income and the seniors that are on fixed income. I moved to this town in 2015. My city taxes were $750 a year. My last statement I got is $1,465. So it went up $700 in 6 years. I'm on a fixed income. I'm very lucky, but it's killing us. But we knew that we had a problem with the swimming pool. We lost $25,000 a year, come out of general fund. All we gotta do is raise the rates 50 cents to $1. We break even. We don't need to make money. We know that we could have a business license that won't kill everybody, like $25 a year. Then everybody who shares that business can share the wealth. $25 a year, you have 250 people, that's less than 10 cents a person. And you can split that money between the city, fire department, and the police department. We'll know who owns the business, who runs the business, and what's the insurance. There's a lot of little things we can do, and we don't want to do them all, but we have to do something that's gonna come out of the unusual. We just gotta follow the big cities. Thank you.
Okay. So that question is pretty hard, I'll admit. But I'm gonna go on a kind of common sense, kind of basics here. If we don't want to raise taxes for the people who live in Floresville, say we got 10 people, right? We need to get more people. Okay, so if there's 20 people paying the taxes, your taxes are going to go down. Okay, so this really is a fundamental problem, and we need to make changes before we can tackle this. But if we can get, and I hate to say, get our roots in here, and we can start working toward, positive budget. We can start working with our FEDC to realign our sights on what kind of businesses and what kind of things we're going to bring to the city, attract more people to come live here, maybe get D.R. Horton or one of these building companies to start building another subdivision or apartment complex or more houses in the city. We bring more people in, they pay taxes, you pay less. And I completely understand and side with, the fixed income. My grandmother, who I live with, is on a fixed income, and her taxes just went up, and I had to review them with her this week, and it was not pretty. So.
Okay, thank you. All right, next question, and we will start with Mr. Nissen for this one. Name one way you see the city of Floresville improving its current financial situation.
Right now, without going up on taxes, you can't increase it. You can't improve it. One thing we can do, years ago we used to charge debris pickup for the people who used it, and it was like $25, $30. When Councilman Cantu decided not to charge anymore, the city lost $30,000 worth of revenue. And so Reliable Republic put it on the garbage bill, so everybody in town now pays that fee. And like me and the 130 residents in Riverbend, we don't have any trees. So, but we're still paying that for the people who have trees that cut stuff down. So we can go back charging that fee for just the people who use it, and then we can increase $30,000 because I guarantee you, Republic charges for the 60 houses a month they pick up, it's included in their garbage bill.
Well, I've noticed that we have a few good streets in this city. One of those is D Street. And what happened on D Street after it was resurfaced is, and I went down there today, we have 3 new homes being built on D Street. The problem that the city has with its streets has been going on for a long time. They don't have an overall plan for how to maintain their streets, how to repair their streets, and and they don't have anybody on their workforce that is educated in street maintenance. So that's one thing I think we would pay a lot of attention to, along with a lot of other things. You know, we've got a few employees that have been furloughed, so the workforces are down. But in good times, in normal times, for a lot of money, we need an overall plan for streets in this city.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Villarreal.
You know, I hate to take the generic answer and the cheap way out again, but on this team here, Nick is the numbers guy. And I love that I can say, hey Nick, how are we going to cut these taxes that are impossible? And he can go and find a program that we have that's, you know, little used and costs us thousands of dollars and turn that into positive equity. You know, I love that. But, you know, here comes a generic answer. So we're going to improve our financial situation. Okay, so what I would do and what I would love for us to get to the bottom of would be, like I said in the last answer, work with the FEDC to realign what kind of businesses we're bringing into town, because as much as I don't dislike Starbucks, you know, it doesn't pay a lot to their employees. That means that, you know, high schoolers are going to get this job, or people are going to get it and be not as satisfied. You know, if we can focus more on getting some industrial jobs or some jobs where people make above minimum wage and beyond, you know, $20 an hour and so on, we can really, really improve Floresville. You know, and this all goes to say, you know, more houses, more businesses, growth, expansion. But we got a lot of work to do.
Thank you. Again, I'm going to remind viewers that you do have the opportunity to pose questions for the City Council candidates who are with us this evening. So if you do have any questions, to post them in the comment thread, and if we have time, we will get to those questions. Final question of the set questions that we posed to you. What is one specific achievement that you hope to accomplish if you're successful in your bid for election? And we'll start with Ed.
Okay, well, my achievement, say my goal, rather, and this one hits close to home, very, very close to home. My goal would be bringing all 16 furloughed employees back to work. And I've sat down with Nick, and I've sat down with Paul, and I've asked, and we've brainstormed, said, how are we going to do this? It's impossible. It looks impossible, but I do believe in shooting for the stars, and that is going to maintain. I'm going to keep that goal. That is something that I would like to see, and it's not only because my disabled, mentally challenged uncle has been working for the city for 27 years, is one of the furloughed employees. That's why it hits close to home. But I know these people, you know, not just him. I know these people. They know my mom. They know my family, and there are citizens. How are we just going to take their jobs away and not look twice? You know, we need to look back at that. We need to get it fixed. So that's my goal.
Thank you. Mr. Sack.
Well, I share a lot of Ed's thoughts there. One of the things that we don't have in the city, as far as with the employees, is a good manager. Not the city manager. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a manager that takes care of the streets, takes care of the parks, takes care of the infrastructure of the city, and somebody that has experience along those lines. We have lately not had people with a lot of experience come in and try to do the job, and it's not getting done properly. So my thought is that we concentrate on who are the good employees and who has to be chosen to be the new managers.
Okay.
Mine is, keep the city back on financial track. We have a good FEDC director now that is working and thinking outside the box. He brought in Starbucks, and I think Burger King is coming in, which is good, but that creates low income jobs. What I want to do is work with him to try to get manufacturing jobs to come in. We almost had a Toyota warehouse plant come here, but we couldn't get the land. We didn't have the smarts or the whereabouts to buy land prior to be able to offer it to them. So I want to work with Mr. Reed to see if we can start buying some land to entice some of these businesses to come in. With businesses, people buy homes, people buy cars, people buy food. That means people are putting more taxes in. Just to stay with the same amount of people we have, we're not going to grow. We're not going to get more taxes. The houses in Riverbend, they're growing like crazy. We will not see any of that money until 2032 or 3. I can't remember the exact dates. And so, like Ed said, we have to get builders to build outside of Riverbend in order to entice people to bring people in to buy homes to help generate taxes. But I want to work with FEDC to start getting our financials back together. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We do have a reader question that came in before the forum went live, so I'm going to pose this one to you. And this is one that our candidates have not prepared for. So we have a reader question from Brad Dan, who has also posed this question to the Wilson County Commissioners and other city councils in Wilson County. Will you support a tax freeze for citizens age 65 or older, like the one that Wilson County has? And we're going to start with you, Mr. Sack.
Well, I was aware that we had a tax freeze for Wilson County as far as property taxes are concerned. Once you reach the age of 65, I believe, and that's in place right now. I don't know what else he
Regarding city property taxes.
the city property tax.
Mm-hmm.
Nick, I'm going to have to pass that over to you.
I agree. We need to help out the seniors. We have a good amount of seniors that are on low fixed incomes. We need to go back and look when they turn 65 and put a freeze on it, just like what the school did. The school, when you hit 65, whatever the taxes is, that stays there the rest of your life. The school does it, the county does it. I think Evergreen does the freeze on it. This is one thing that it will cost the city down the road, but if we get new houses in, we won't feel that. But we have a lot of low-income seniors here because they love this town. They don't want to leave this town. This is our duty to help them. And even if they're above income, make a lot of money as a retired person, they still deserve a freeze like the county does and what have you. And yes, I will support it, and I want to bring it up too, see if we can get it supported. I would love to see get cut in half and stay there as a freeze, but you got to be realistic. But if they could say tomorrow we're going to freeze everybody over 65, so they know down the road it will stay there, and they can start counting on their money. And like I say, mine has went up $700 in 6 years. You don't plan on $700 in 6 years, but it did, so we have to pay for it. So if we can protect the seniors, I think we should do that. Okay. And yes, I'm a senior, but I still believe we should protect the seniors.
And Ed, this would particularly hit home with you, with your grandmother?
Well, I am not a senior myself, so yes, it definitely does though hit home with my grandmother, but not only her, you know. Yes, it hits a little closer to home because we were just reviewing her taxes, and they're particularly, you know, a struggle. But I have aunts, I have uncles, I have friends, cousins that are of age, and I know that once they've gotten to that age, they've worked so hard, they deserve it. However, my answer is absolutely, I'm willing to support that, but we have to be in a position to where we can do that. We have to get our numbers right? We can't spend money we don't have, and that is the biggest issue that we have right now with our current council. So, absolutely, Grandma, I'd love to cut your taxes in half and freeze them. But we got to do a lot of work to get there, and I think that we can and we will, and absolutely is my answer.
Excellent, thank you. Again, this is the Wilson County News Floresville City Council Candidates Forum, live from the Wilson County News office in downtown Floresville. We do invite you, if you have questions, to pose them in our comments. These again are questions now that are posed by viewers and readers and community members. Next question: what are your thoughts about face masks? We've addressed that a little bit earlier. Being that Karnes County and Atascosa County recently have sought and received an exemption from the governor to lift the mask mandates in those counties. How do you feel about those, and would you agree? And we'll start with you, Ben.
I think this should be left up to individuals and business owners. If there's a sign on the door that says wear your mask, wear your mask. I think that if this is my business and I don't want to be responsible for people catching COVID or giving me COVID, you should respect my business and wear the mask. However, I don't think that businesses should be forced by the city to enforce that. I think that the city would step back in this situation and, let that go, because it like I said, liberty and freedom, there's a fine line when it comes to this stuff, and you don't want to piss some people off, so.
Well, I agree with you on that. We have a couple large stores in town that have a lot of traffic, H-E-B and Walmart. They've put together a tremendous amount of effort to keep everybody safe within their stores, about where you walk, where you stand, wear a mask, and that's good. And I think if you go into most stores around town, they have a sign on the door to wear the mask. Now, if they don't have that, then it's your choice whether you want to enter that building or not. Overall, I think the city of Floresville has done a great job, thanks to a lot of input by our mayor and a lot of other citizens, to encourage people to just respect each other by wearing the mask.
Okay. Mr. Nissen.
I think Dickie Jackson's doing an excellent job on the mask control. I believe we should have masks. If you want to, fine. That's my beliefs. After my wife just had a big issue in the hospital and I had to go to San Antonio, with what I saw, I wanted to wear a mask. The other two counties that you're talking about are farther away from San Antonio, and they don't have near the San Antonio traffic as Floresville has, because we have a lot of workers that drive through here. The masks, do they work? Do they don't? Who knows? You listen to TV, who knows if they work. But at my age, if they tell me to wear a mask, I was in the Army 25 years, they tell me to do something, I'm gonna do it, protects me, good. If it don't protect me, guess what? I just wore a mask, who cares? But I think Judge Jackson is really doing a lot of work, and I believe him and the mayor are doing the best thing they can do about our mask control. I don't think they really want to wear a mask, but I got to leave it up to them. If they say wear a mask, I wear it. If they say no, I'll celebrate. I can take the mask off.
Thank you for your military service and your service to our country, and thank the three of you for stepping up to actually follow our founding fathers' efforts to found a free republic where people have a lot of say in how we govern ourselves. Next question: what are your thoughts about businesses that are popping up along Highway 181? Could the city do more to support these small local pop-ups and help the economy? Since you're the numbers guy, Mr. Nissen, I think we'll start with you.
I'm not a believer. I come from a real liberal state. That's the reason I moved out of it. I'm not a believer in long-term pop-up trailers to sell stuff. Yes, they make incredible foods. Yes, to get a restaurant going, to build this brick and mortar is expensive, but I believe they should have a goal and say, I'm going to be here 1 year, I'm going to be here 2 years, and I'm going to build my own restaurant. Or if they're having the garage sale, I'm going to have a secondhand store. I'm not big on the pop-up stuff that goes. How do you say, to generate more income? I support 2 of them. I mean, there's a hamburger trailer there that, I mean, to me, it makes excellent hamburgers. But there again, I hope his goal is to buy the property and build a restaurant. Trailers down the road cannot stay and maintain health. I don't
Okay.
care how hard they try, they just don't.
Ed, what are your thoughts?
Oh, I thought you were gonna go. Honestly, if you're bringing business, bringing traffic into Floresville, if you're selling something, you're providing service, and you're making good food, I'm supporting you, no matter what. It doesn't matter if you're in a trailer or not. I do hope that you have plans to make a restaurant, because that's awesome. But if you're doing your part to grow Floresville, I'm with you. And it's not my position, even on city council, to actually offer you that aid, but I will work with the FEDC and I will work with the people who are responsible for that to help you, and to pass things that do encourage more people to come pop up businesses and hopefully stay. Maybe some of these pop up businesses aren't what we want, and they go, and they move on, we get another one. So definitely.
Okay, Mr. Sack.
Well, I think there are certain people in the city, Ben Reed's one of them, that runs our FEDC operation. We've had many conversations regarding the quality of the businesses that should be coming up along 181, which has a tremendous amount of traffic all day long. And I guess he's got all the facts and figures about how many cars or trucks go by. The first restaurant to go in, Starbucks, is a precursor to maybe getting Chick-fil-A. They have the same people are in charge of their placement operations. And getting good businesses along there, the more we have a lot of vacant land on 181 and a lot of opportunities. So I'm all for anything we can do along those lines.
Okay. Did you want to make a further comment?
Yeah, I just want to limit, the problem we have with 181 is a perfect place for businesses, but every lot is owned by a different person. In order to buy those lots, this is where FEDC needs to come together and buy 2 or 3 lots. Because there's not one lot along there that you can bring in a Baskin Robbins you can't, but a Red Lobster or something big. We don't have the space. Walmart in front of it, it has the space. The price, I don't know why they don't get it moving, but we don't have big lots, and that's where our problem comes in by moving big businesses in, big restaurants, big stores, what have you. Thank you.
Okay. And another business question, then we'll follow this along. As large corporations such as Starbucks move into Floresville, how would you approach protecting small, locally owned businesses? And I guess we're going to go back to you, since you made that excellent point about businesses on 181.
I was going to say, let's talk with Ed, because he participates a lot in the coffee, and Starbucks is coffee, and we have a great coffee place downtown, and protection is going to be hard, but we talked about it the other day, and Ed had some pretty good things that he was saying about it.
Then over to you.
So I saw this one coming. Whoever put that, probably one of my family members. Everybody asks that, and I actually had a chance to go down to Carvalho Coffee and ask the owner himself, what do you think about Starbucks? And I swear to you, without a flinch, with a smile on his face, he said he wasn't worried, that he's prepared. And I love to see that. He's gonna sell other things other than coffee. He has treats, and that's awesome. But another thing, he oh my gosh, I just lost my train of thought. He is prepared for this. Man, I can't believe that just happened.
I could say right now,
It'll come back.
when we
it goes.
had Taco Bell come into town, we had a lot of the mom and pop restaurants that served Mexican food were really complaining. I guarantee you, Taco Bell has nothing compared to the quality of food we have there. It's the same as the coffee shops. The coffee shop on 181 is not going to hurt the businesses downtown or off the street, because the people who go down 181 are driving fast. They want to pull in, pull out. They don't want to circle the town and find the good coffee shop that makes excellent pastries. So Taco Bell did not hurt a restaurant, neither will this coffee shop. I just don't believe it'll hurt any of them.
I remember now. Okay, so it was a shout out to our community, especially. He actually told me that because of the announcement of Starbucks and the groundbreaking, that he had an influx of customers coming in, and guilty, I was one of them that came in to say, hey, I want to support you, but hey, look at his holiday season coming up before the Starbucks opens up. He's going to have a heck of a season. People are coming in to support him because they hear about Starbucks. We have a great community and we come together, and that's one thing that I love about Floresville. So I think that they're going to be okay. I think the local businesses are going to be fine. I don't think Starbucks is going to hurt anybody. I don't think it was a great decision to bring Starbucks in right after bringing in local coffee companies. But at the same time, hey, Starbucks is novel, and that's huge, and that's something that Floresville would never think they would see. So hopefully that paves the way for, like Paul said, Chick-fil-A, and we can see great things come out of that. I think that our small businesses will be fine.
Okay.
And by the way, the Starbucks and Chick-fil-A are possible there because it's a large piece of land, a very large, wide, and deep piece of land. So, and just what Nick said, we've got to talk to some of these owners that have a lot here and a lot there, and they're not going to sell the small lot. They have to have enough space to put a decent store in there. So that has to happen.
Okay, thank you. All right, next question, and these are from viewers on Facebook. Will you look at reviewing the city charter and setting up a committee to update it? I think we're going to go straight to you, Mr.
man.
Sack.
Yeah, we did the charter back in 2004 and 2008. We had a very large, the committee was 21 people. I happened to chair that. Everybody worked very hard. We had good lawyers, and we've gone over the charter in recent years, and it does have to be updated. Many issues in there have to be updated. And so it would probably take the city of Floresville to take action to invite people in to be on that committee. What we did back in 2004, we actually had a whole bunch of people, and we put it out for vote, and the top 20 people were chosen. But there were 40, I think there were 40 or 43 people on the thing. So it has to, that would be the best way to do it, is to choose new members, these members, and then put a committee together.
Mr. Neeson?
Yes, the charter needs to be updated, but I'm also reading how this normal city in Texas is run by the Texas state codes. This city, once it hits 10,000, a lot of things have got to change. I mean, we got to have a fire department. Our charter is not built for that. Our charter is built for small communities. Charter can be expanded, but the simple way out is to go to the Texas codes and just follow the Texas laws about cities. Do I want to do that? There's a lot of loopholes in there. But if we can get the charter rebuilt during 1 or 2 years, there again, if we don't all three get elected, we'll have 2 people like me and David Johns when I was on council just sitting there looking pretty and not having our voice heard, because every time we got voted down. So the charter would never get fixed if we don't all 3 get elected.
Okay. Ed?
I think it needs to go. It needs to go, or it needs to get revised, it needs to get fixed. There's too many loopholes for overreach of power. There's people who don't have sufficient power, like our mayor, who, you know, for her, I feel so bad for her because she takes so much heat. I mean, you come into a city, you have a problem, you think, hey, the mayor. But our mayor has very little power thanks to that charter. You know, I think that it needs to go. I think that we can do much better. I like the way that small cities in Texas run. You know, I've talked to Nick about this before. If we went that route, we would be golden. You know, the paid fire department. Hey, that's another one. That I'd love that. You know, I have a brother who is actually part of the fire department, and a best friend who's also a firefighter. So.
Okay, thank you. All right, and our next question. I will remind viewers that this is the Wilson County News Floresville City Council Candidates Forum. We are live on Facebook. Feel free to chime in. Next question from a viewer. What will you do about the revolving door in the city? From council to FEDC to the 4A Corporation and back to city council, same people. How do we expect changes? Nick?
The only way you're gonna have changes, honestly, is you guys vote. And if you don't get out and vote, I don't wanna say the other side has a good 500 to 600, 700 people. They get out and vote. Last time I lost by 30, because Floresville moved part of the voting down to City Hall and the other here, so people got real confused. People from Riverbend and Northwest thought they were going to vote for the city at the courthouse annex, and they got there and they couldn't find where to vote, and there was no hints. Go down to the city. Most people only read the first 3 lines of the newspaper. If they read the whole thing, they'd realize that. But the only way you're going to have change is get out and vote. The only way you're going to have FEDC change is hire a good person that is not buddy-buddy with everybody. It's the same thing with the employees of the city, that they hire, you notice admin, they hire friends, third cousins, fourth, whatever they are. That is up to the manager. We cannot, city manager, we cannot do anything about who they hire. But to get a good city manager in town, that will stop it. But we cannot change anything unless you get out and vote for all of us, and then we can put a stop to some of it. And yes, we want to put a stop in it, but we lost one of the council people, and so a lot of our plans went out the door because we couldn't put a stop to it.
Okay.
But you got to vote.
Mr. Sack?
Yeah, I want to serve on the city council along with Nick and Ed, because it does take 3 votes to make things happen. If you elect 2 of us, we'll just sit there like we shouldn't have even spent any money to run. We intend, the 3 of us intend to resolve the city's financial situation, which is insolvency at this point. So what I can say to the voters is, if you go to vote, vote for all 3 of us. Vote at the Wilson County Election Office at Railroad and 4th Street, because there you can vote for the city council, you can vote for the county races, you can vote for the state races, and you can vote for the presidential races, all at one place. Thank you.
To touch on that, you know, I'm 100% a supporter of, I don't know how you say this, but let's say a council that doesn't work harmoniously. You know, I want there to be checks and balances. I want there to be arguing. I want there to be, you know, people to check me and people for me to check. Now, I have to remind voters that right now, the city council is a well-oiled machine. Okay, we're voting, we're approving, we're saying yes. Hey, we know what everybody's voting on, whatever. If you vote all 3 of us in, you're not going to have a full council of us. We're still going to be checked. We still have other council members to check us, and that's very important to me. So I would hope to share that with you. But to get to the topic of, you know, the revolving door, I do see that we have a lot of people who serve on multiple boards or go from this board to that board, and hey, I'm gonna, you know, get off of this board so I can go over here, and it is a problem. I see that as well. I'll tell you, the city council controls that. Okay, so you elect the people who you want to see on the city council, you elect the people who think like you, those boards are gonna clean up, right? Same way with the city workers, the city manager, they answer to the city council. So that's the head of the snake, that's where you go. You know, you vote however you want, that's what you're gonna get. You know, and then it's like a trickle-down effect. It'll all work out. So definitely, once we are elected, we'll have the power to fix that revolving door and hopefully find good people. But you gotta vote and you gotta run if you think you're up to that.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. Another viewer question. Are you in favor of single-member districts for the city? Mr. Sack.
We put that on the ballot back in, I think, about 10 years ago, at least. That was our way of trying to break up what you're just talking about. Some of the people who are still in power here today were the ones that fought that tooth and nail. Now, that probably is the most effective way of breaking up a lot of these old situations that we all know are going on, and letting the council people be voted on by separate districts.
Can you, really quick, can you just elaborate on what that means? Because I believe I know what it means, but I'm pretty sure that if I'm having trouble, a lot of people out there might also have trouble understanding what a single person district is.
Single member
Single
district
member.
means that people in that district vote for that
So kind
particular
of like,
seat.
like our JP is over that district, okay. So,
The city,
Kind of like the Floresville ISD school board is, those
Okay.
districts vote for a member that lives in that district
Okay.
to represent them.
oh, awesome.
the
Yes.
city council has 5 members, so they'd end up being 5 districts. Honestly, if we break up into districts, it won't cost us near the amount of money to run a city council versus having to cover the whole town with door hangers and everything that we buy. We spend a lot of money to do this, and we get paid $75 a month, about $800 a year, and we spend way over that to run. I would love to have districts that we can run, and you have more time to meet the people in your districts, and you can do stuff. The problem is, the lower income districts versus the medium versus the high income, the money has got to be the same in the high versus the low, and it can't show favoritism. And as long as you set up the districts with the right amount of money versus the right amount of people versus the right amount of land, you can make it work and be very positive for us. If you say, okay, we have roughly, say 10,000 people, that makes it easy. Everybody's gonna have roughly 2,000 people in each district. And if you have 2,000 homes, that means we're gonna have 500 homes. And so we can keep the money working. All that money should not go out to whatever because they pay more taxes. The money, taxes is for everything in the city. So it's gotta be equal and be shared, no matter where the income is, where the small houses are versus the big houses. As long as it's fair and treated fair, I love to have districts.
This isn't something I've considered before, but in the short time I've been able to think about it, I believe I would vote in favor for. The reason being, most of my motive running for city council and running on this team was to make sure that my community was represented. And my community, my blood comes from Plum Street, Peach Street. That's where my families both were raised and grown up. Between Plum, First, and Peach, both sides of my family were raised, and that's where we come from. I want to make sure that those areas are not misrepresented. I want to make sure that I hear from the people there. I have contacts that speak for the community and will tell me what they want. And I'm confident that I could represent that community specifically, and I'm talking everything from Trail to Fourth and Goliad, that whole area, that's my blood.
No.
And I would actually agree with this district thing. I think that it would definitely save us money when campaigning because, as a 26-year-old who self-funded his campaign, it was not easy. You know,
Did you have something you wish to add?
Yeah, well, actually, you get better representation from your
You get to know
local
people.
district person. Somebody you can go to, somebody that'll fight for you and what's the problem in your area. And we don't have that here. We really don't.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. All right, we have someone who says, I'm part of the Hike and Bike Committee. Are you all familiar with that group? And I would like to know, if you are elected, will you block the process of improvements through the TxDOT grant? I think we're going to start with you, Mr. Sapp.
The hike and bike trail, which was put up some 10, 15 years ago, that was a wish by just a few people in the city. We put very little money into it. The trail was established. But now to do what they want to do, which is going to be very expensive, is another grant that the city will get. But we have to remember, those grants have to be repaid. A lot of people don't think of them that way. So if it came up, well, for me, I would vote against it.
Grants don't have to be repaid, let me collect it, but our bonds do.
Yeah.
But our problem we have with grants is we have to have matching funds to go with the grants. Right now, the city is short $1.4 million in meeting all the bills. Where are we gonna get, say the grant's $150,000, chances are we're gonna need $75,000 in matching funds. Where are we gonna get the money? Okay, right now we can't afford it. But the simple thing about it is, we can definitely have a city fundraiser to raise $75,000 to make sure it happens. Because there is a lot of people who want to see that, and if everybody chips in, I don't know, $50, $100, just to get us to 75, let us know how much that is. It can go. But right now, I'd love to see it, but right now, the city can't afford $75,000 to put towards the grant, unless there's not, I don't know of any zero grants anymore. They all have a matching fund. Can we do a labor matching fund where we strictly do labor to participate in it? So in-kind donations, in other words. I'd be all for it. Or if we have a goal, let's do it by next November. Let's get fundraisers going for it. Just put a big board at the city hall and donate and see if we can raise the $75,000. But just to come out and say, okay, the city's gonna pay the other half to get that grant, right now the city can't afford it. I'm all for it, but I did stop at one time because I knew we had to have right at $100,000 to come out of the city coffer. We just don't have that money right now.
Okay, Ed, what are your thoughts?
Well, to be honest, I don't have a lot of information or knowledge as far as what that is going to cost us specifically for that project. But I can tell you in good faith that as long as our balance is negative, as long as our employees are furloughed, and as long as we are broke, I'm not going to spend anything other than what the council has already spent on beautification or anything just for fun. We have priorities, so we need to focus on them. And I'm open. I mean, I'm telling you right now that if that is what you're gonna decide whether you vote for me or not, your priorities might be in the wrong place. Because I'm open for a table. You know, you come and you explain to me why that is so important, and explain to me how we're gonna pay for it, and you might have me. But as of right now, no, definitely not.
Okay, next question. We do need new, nice, upkept streets, and we have talked street maintenance and infrastructure. But what about foot traffic, bike traffic perhaps? Should sidewalks be upkept and added where needed? And should the city consider bike lanes for students who can't drive but are uncomfortable on the buses? So, Ed?
Okay, so, you know, this almost gets close to the last question, right? But This has more to do with your roads and your sidewalks. Let's say, for example, the sidewalk project downtown. We have some nice looking sidewalks now. However, I would argue that maybe we should have focused on putting that money toward getting more businesses down here. You know, I come downtown to, you know, go to Trail Riders, go to the movies, Carvajal Coffee, here now, I guess. So, near the school, there's great sidewalks. I'm not sure what year that was. I love the sidewalks there. If certain areas need to be improved, maybe they're plenty wide to ride a bike. I don't know if that's illegal. Is it illegal to ride a bike on the sidewalk?
Depending how the zoning is in the town. I don't know how the zoning
So,
is, but it's safer.
I think that it can't be very expensive to run a bike lane, you know, put paint on the road. I'm not the numbers guy. I don't know everything when it comes to that. I haven't experienced building roads before, but if it's a reasonable cost, then I'd definitely be up for that. You know, I grew up in Floresville. I lived at the Highland Oaks Apartments, and my grandmother was on Plum Street, and I rode my bike on the side of the highway all the way down to the HEB exit, or the HEB Bill Miller intersection, and then I went over to Plum Street. I mean, almost multiple times a week.
Yeah.
So I'm 100% for that. You know, let the kids get their bikes, and I would be for that if it's within reason, if we can afford it, definitely.
Well, I believe that it's time for the city to really sit down and take a look at our street program, how we've financed them in the past, how we've laid them out in the past. We should be able to have streets with curbs. I'm not necessarily going to say we should have streets with sidewalks, because many of the areas are not built for that. But we should have an overall plan to incorporate sidewalks and curbs into our street program as much as possible. And once the program is put together, we introduce that program to the citizens for their comments and suggestions.
Every street in town has an easement to put a sidewalk in it. A lot of people don't believe that easement belongs to the city. They believe that their property goes all the way to the curb. Well, we have an easement, 4 foot, 6 foot, 8 foot, depending what streets it's on. The problem we have on putting streets and sidewalks is most of that street money comes out of the ad valorem tax to maintain streets. We don't have any money to do it, so I think they put about $30,000 out of the valorem into street maintenance. The other money that Juan Ortiz has got completely rebuilt was the streets to get rerouted, to get repaved. Great job. We needed to do it. This needed to be current. That money that we borrow money from the future, we borrow 3 years out of tax money, goes into the city strictly for streets, not for curbs, not for sidewalks. So that's roughly $900 to $1 million we get. That keeps the streets. Now, if we want to put sidewalks in, there is a thing in the city that says the owners of the property put sidewalks and pay for the curbs. Is it mandatory? No. You get it mandatory, that's going to be very hard to do it. So the city is sort of taking to the back seat that they're going to have to pay for it. Adding bike rails, tracks to streets, you got to widen streets 4 foot in order to have it to meet ADA standards, because you got parking, a bike, then the cars, make it safety. Is that going to cost a lot of money? Yes. Can we do it with the tax money? No. So we're trapped. We just don't have the money to do it. But I'm all for a bike lane. Yes, I'm all for sidewalks and street lights for seniors on the streets, and that will justify it.
Well, I think what you're saying is that we probably should have if we can, have a city council okay a study of our streets and sidewalks.
Of sidewalks. We had a study of the streets, and Juan just did a new job with the engineers. Great job he did, and he pushed for it. Great. Sidewalks, lights, we do need a study. All streets don't need sidewalks. All streets don't need lights. But there is a lot of that do need it, yes. And we do need a committee to do that. And they already got a committee. Hey, change over some of the hike and bike trails, see if they want to do it.
There you go.
Anything we can get them involved in.
Okay. Next question, gentlemen. What are your thoughts on improving the environmental sustainability of Floresville? And is this a priority for you? We'll start with Ed.
Well, one thing that I can tell you just on this, our water is a problem. You know, we have a water well up by the middle school that's supporting our entire city, and we have one over by Jack's Cafe that struck some sludge or something that it's inoperational. We need to spend $2 million to drill another well. We have our retired one there in Lodi, and then we have the one over by the hospital by the fire station that is inoperable.
It's working.
It's working? Okay. We need, first of all, we need money, but when we do get money, we need to reinvest in our water system. We need to go ahead with the Oak Hills water transfer system to where we can borrow water if needed. I mean, I think that needs to be our priority. But in regards to being more eco-friendly and green, I think that when we get the money, and I think it is possible. I mean, this isn't just like a dream that we're gonna, get money again. When we get it, might be my next term, hopefully. Vehicles that are more economically feasible than what the city currently has are definitely something that we would look at, Is it a priority? I mean, amongst the other things that you would put it against, I mean, what else is there? Yes, it's a priority. It's just the biggest priority right now is being able to afford it. Once that's clear, there's not many other things that are going to go against that. So, sure, me personally, I'll be having that eye toward it, an environmental eye, in the future.
Okay. Mr. Nissen, environmental sustainability.
Okay. Long-term environmental sustainability is a thing that is very expensive. I did this up in the Tigard, Oregon, where I worked. It is real expensive to buy a electric gas car compared to buy an economical pickup to go. Charging stations are expensive to put in, and they get abused and vandalized. They're expensive to do it. But there's a lot of things that we can do, but we have to be very wise in what we want to do that people will do with us. Because once you want them to environmental friendly, okay, you cannot put your tree limbs, you can't put your mattresses in our drainage ditches. People are gonna complain. The city, we have a great person, Dino, who's I think code compliant. He would go around and tell people, hey, you can't do that. But now I don't see him. Now I see mattresses and stoves and carpet, sheetrock in our drainage ditches. So those two people, they got to educate themselves how it's hurting our environment. Some of them sit there 2 or 3 months. But as far as trying to get more sustainability on our buildings, we don't have the money to do that. We don't have the money to do on the cars. That is a beautiful dream to have. We can go after used stuff from San Antonio, but I have not seen our mayor go talk to him and say, hey, I'd like to see about buying your electric car for our water meter guy can drive around. I don't see her doing much of anything as far as that, and maybe she doesn't, not aware of it, but coming from Chicago, she should be aware of it. So it's expensive when you do it. It's a beautiful word to say, but it costs a lot of money to convert stuff like that, and the city doesn't have it.
Okay, Paul?
Well, one of the things that's been going on for years is that our various sources of water, the various wells we have around the city, the inspection of those wells has been sporadic at best. I think what to do this step by step is, number one, make sure all the wells are working and bring them up to proper speed. But we have wells that are doing almost nothing. They're operating what is it, 15 minutes a day? Some of, that's just ridiculous. So, but we don't have anybody in the city at this point in time that I know of that is competent in doing that along with their other jobs. So,
Okay. So a viewer has responded to this particular question that was posed about environmental sustainability, saying, okay, well, let's take electric cars off the table. They're not entirely an option. What about recycling? Ed?
Recycling. Well, I think Nick kind of touched on that. He did say, you know, everybody needs to do their part and not throw stuff in our ditches. But he also mentioned that we used to have a very qualified individual who took care of this sort of matter. And I think that that's the first step we can take, is finding somebody to fill that position, which I don't even know what the position was that Dino had.
Code compliance.
Code compliance.
Code compliance,
Okay.
yeah.
There are other positions in a similar field, or just code compliance, that we can find somebody who's qualified, who maybe has a good head on them, and that can help us to steer toward that direction. You know, recycling isn't a hard thing to do if you do it right. So I feel like with the right personnel, we can make that happen. But again, is it going to happen right away? No, probably not, because we need to be able to afford to hire that person and pay them. And right now we have furloughed employees again. So yes, at a later date,
Okay.
definitely.
Nick?
For me.
Okay, this is 90% of our plastic was bought by China. China right now is barely buying 1%. Republic and Waste Management, I know Waste Management, they have to recycle by the contract they have in San Antonio. They don't have any place to get rid of the glass. They don't have a place for aluminum. They don't have a place for plastic. People did so well 15, 16 years ago. Our aluminum and glass piles have accumulated so big, nobody wants to buy it. The newspapers and the paper products used to make like $14 a ton. Now you're lucky to make $3 a ton. Who can run a truck like one of our big Republic or Waste Management for $3 a ton when you're carrying, say, 10 tons, $30? You can't afford to pay for it. That's why the recycling in Floresville never came to. We tried to do it. I wanted to get recycled, but when nobody wants to buy it, they're going to have to charge us extra for the extra pickups of doing the recycling. And it's a shame, but we did so well and recycled everything so well, there's no room to put it. And since China is not buying our recycled products of the old metal, the paper, or the plastic, and this is not our little town's fault, this is the big federal government's, where does it go? I have a sister that says, well, we'll just go dig another hole and just dump it some other place separate. If we need it, we go get it elsewhere. But realistically, that's not environmental friendly. But where can we put the stuff? They just don't have the time, the money. There's no money there anymore. Glass used to be like $45 a ton, and people loved recycling glass. Now they just say we don't want it. So there's just no way small towns are going to really get into recycling.
Okay. Mr. Sack, do you have anything to add?
Republic used to support recycling in this town. That stopped years ago for the exact same reason.
Mm-hmm.
There was no place for them to put it. There was no money in it, so they stopped doing it.
Very quickly, after hearing their input and understanding what that means, I do think that it's now, for me, going to fall under more of a luxury, beautification category for me, but it still is a priority, and it's just going to take more time in my head. It might not be something that we all agree on, but I think that it's something we're going to have to obviously spend money to make happen. But when it becomes possible, I'll be looking into that, definitely, because I think it is important to at least instill the habit into our community. At least get our kids learning how to do that. And, maybe one day these other things fix and we can start making money off of it.
Okay. Next viewer question: if elected, would you utilize the rodeo? This is the arena out at the event center that has never been used. That could bring more money and families that could safely come and enjoy something that is local. Also, making bikes allowed at local parks and update the park equipment. Pecan Park has broken play equipment for small children's area. So let's first talk the rodeo arena, and then we'll get to the other parts of this question. So would you like to see the rodeo utilized, and how would you?
Okay, let me start on that one because that's actually very fresh in my head, because I actually spoke with one of the people who used to run that back when we used it. It was actually used briefly. I remember because I wrecked my truck there in 2013, but pulling a cattle trailer. So let me just say, first of all, my uncle built that, and my dad donated a lot of material, all the panels around that. And I was speaking with my dad this week about, hey, if I do get elected, would y'all like to start getting that going again? You know, it's just sitting back there covered in weeds. You know, it's been vandalized and some things have been stolen, but I mean, rodeos don't take a lot, and they bring a lot. They bring traffic, they bring money, you know, it's fun. And honestly, rodeo guys will rodeo in a empty patch of dirt. So, you know, we don't need to spend a lot of money to fix it. And not only that, but the people that I've talked to are probably willing to fix it mostly themselves. Like I said, initially, that was mostly donated material. So yes, absolutely, that's on top of one of the things that I'd like to bring as far as, you know, attractions or like parks. I would like to get that fixed back up. I have the contacts, I know the people. My dad, I know, would support me 100% because he would be putting on ropings there, as well as other friends that I have in the rodeo community. And the rest of the question was about parks.
Well, we're gonna
Okay.
go to the rodeos, and we'll come back to the
Okay.
other part of the question.
Well, yes, I was very much involved with the rodeo out there with with his uncle, and the major problem we came about was water. Well, we had enough water to run a water faucet, but we didn't have any sewer lines, and we could have gotten them, but then something happened, as happens too often in the city, that was all squashed. There was going to be no money, there was going to be no sewer line out there, which was necessary. There are washrooms there, but there's no sewer line that's connected. So people couldn't use it. We had a big bar was built there, and it was very functional. But without a sewer line, nothing could happen. So that has to happen, and as a matter of fact, the city had looked at extending the sewer line down East Street out to that area. That was squashed by some people in the city, so nothing happened after that. But we should take another look at that.
Okay, Nick?
Actually, Richardson Chevrolet looked into it, and the city never followed up on it. I didn't get reelected, so I don't really know what happened. They wanted to try to come involved to put rodeos on because they were real involved. Now, the nice thing about it is we have a bathroom that's less than 100 yards away from it now. We have a bathroom concession and a couple bathrooms that we can use. All we got to do is add a nice sidewalk, go from there. And we do have water out to the back that we can take for it. So a lot of stuff is there that we never had in the past. So if we can get volunteers to do it, I mean, it may be a win-win. So I'm all for looking into it. The rodeo, I mean, that is a thing that Texas people love, and we love it. I don't care if it's playing with your goat, showing with it. We may get in some competition, which having a goat show, a cow show, rodeos out there, horse shows, guess what? That's something Floresville can have, and we got a beautiful place to do it. We got the event center, we can have the rodeo, we can have the shows in the back, in the grass, whatever. But I think it's something we should really look into now since we already have a bathroom out there.
Okay, and then the next part of that question is making bikes allowed at local parks, updating the park equipment. For instance, Pecan Park has broken play equipment in the small children's area. So,
The problem we have is we don't have money to buy the stuff. All of our money, all the extra money that the city gets right now goes to the event center to pay the bills, and will be going to the sports park out there. I mean, if we had to lay 16 people off, that's roughly $450,000 to generate money to help pay bills. Unfortunately, city doesn't have the money. The city right now, for the square miles that it has, the square amount of miles it has, and the population, we have more acres of parks than most big cities have. When you look at how many parks we have a park on Goliad that they didn't like, they closed down. But there is no money to buy parts. If they do buy parts, I mean, I would love to be able to buy parts for that, but I don't know if they're gonna. I know this year they didn't budget much money into parks at all. In the parks budget, when you look at it, there's not barely any money budgeted for it.
Well, we collected from every house in this city for almost 15 years, $1 a month for the Parks Foundation, okay? We tapped into that money maybe up to an extent of $20,000 the Parks Foundation did. Where's the other $200,000 that was put aside for the parks?
Sports park.
Huh?
Sports park.
Wasn't put aside for that. It was put aside for
They
the.
don't care. In-kind donations, in-kind money.
No.
That's where they needed to have the money.
No,
go to pay
that's
the
Mr.
bills.
not
Newsom, I want
true.
to remind you that there's not rebuttals. And
Oh,
No rebuttal.
no rebuttal, but that's where his money went.
Well, that's not what people put it for.
I agree.
Okay,
Okay.
that's it.
It's supposed to be for the parks. So, top of our priorities, absolutely, I would say myself and Paul are actually sitting board members of the Floresville Parks Foundation. However, what date were we dissolved? Or pretty much, we
last
pretty much
February.
last February, after already building a dog park and already raising money and collecting donations, I guess we were officially dissolved, and the city council said y'all no longer exist. So I guess we don't exist, but we plan to exist again when we win this election. And we want to take care of our parks. We want to get restrooms fixed. I know that's a huge thing that I see all the time. We want to focus on these things. It's just where the city's priorities are right now are elsewhere, and we want to fix all of that. We just need to make the money.
Okay.
Okay, and allowing bikes in the city parks.
Oh yeah.
I think that should be a no-brainer. I mean, a park is for fun and recreation, and I think a person on a bike, if he doesn't have enough responsibility to get out of the way, the pedestrian has the right of way, the bike has the next, the car has the next. If you want to go in boats, they're prior, but a kid walking on the ground should have the right of way. A bicycle should be able to ride and have fun. It's not like they're going to, a lot of them will ride it fast, but a park's a park for people to have fun, to entertain themselves. I'm all for bicycles in parks.
Ed?
I think that the city park, the new behind the convention center, including the convention center, all of that, should definitely be a bike zone. We should definitely allow people to ride bikes. I mean, if nothing else, at least because it's a huge amount of distance from wherever you park to wherever you want to go back there. But the Pecan Park, I can understand. It's a little more dangerous. There's some more sharp turns, deeper trenches. I think maybe people would rather keep that for the joggers or the walkers or the runners. But either way, I'm open to hearing more about this and deciding my vote on that. I think that we need a place for people to ride bikes, definitely. But if we can find a place other than the Pecan Park, I think that'd be great. Like I said, the city park right now is pretty ideal. It's just not very much shade. So I'm open to that.
Paul?
Well, I'm open to it also. It's just that it's just an expense putting in bike lanes in some of our parks. It's a doable thing. but again, we're talking about money.
Okay. This is more a comment than a question, but one viewer has posed this. A few years back, a study was made on streets and the order in which they were to be repaired. This goes back to the streets maintenance and repairs that we addressed earlier. There was a chart that was displayed in the lobby. Maybe you can see what happened to it. And reader says South Second, he thinks, was the first priority. So,
Well,
chart of Mount City.
Well, South Second was the one that was the only street that was redone. And that was redone by city crews. And they did an excellent job. Don't know where all that equipment's gone.
Well, I know, sorry, I don't mean to cut in, but I know that my uncle would be yelling at me right now if I didn't mention that the city still owns that equipment. It's just sitting there waiting for them to hire somebody qualified to operate it.
Yeah, but we went to look for the equipment and we couldn't find it.
Well, that's fishy.
Okay, but the question is about the chart that actually outlined the streets to be repaired. Does anybody know where the chart is?
Okay, the chart was actually put together 5 years ago. And the city ran out of money. They couldn't complete all the streets. And so Mr. Ortiz went ahead and got the engineering to do a new chart. And is it got posted? No. Is it going to be posted? I don't know. It should be posted. It should come in our water bills like the other ones that used to come into water bills. But did we ever finish the old chart? No. So, but that wasn't a priority. He wanted to get a whole brand new thing, and I don't know if the engineers picked up on the old streets and brought them forward or not. But that's what you need to get Councilman Ortiz to find out where that chart is and get him to post the chart, because I think he did a good job, forceful job, to get a new layout on what streets would be priorities, and it needs to be posted. Yes, even in the internet, the internet and the Facebook page are not being used like they should on a lot of stuff.
Okay. All right, next question. Do you promote for Floresville to grow and encourage other restaurants and businesses to come to our town? We've touched on this. This is an outright, do you promote Floresville growth and encourage restaurants and businesses?
I do. In fact, first of all, I support our local businesses by going and eating there often. But I'll post on Facebook and I'll do what I can, my part. But when I see an opportunity to say, well, let me give an example. There's a restaurant in town. It's a very nice restaurant that I happen to know the owners of, and they have other restaurants in other towns. And any chance that I get to talk to, say, their son or one of their workers, I'll mention like, hey, the restaurant in Floresville is doing great. Like, keep it up. Let them know. Relay the message. Like, everybody loves it that I know. Even though there will be some bad reviews, but I want to make sure that I encourage them to keep on putting into that business because I love it, and I want to do what I can to influence.
Okay.
Yeah. But if you go down 3rd Street in town, there's probably at least 4 or 5 gift stores along 3rd Street between I would say from C to D there's 3, and then there's a couple by the theater, and the thing is, the city has to really do more to promote those businesses. I visit all of them. They are all struggling. It's hard, and but we have to. But I think the city made a good choice of redoing the sidewalks. That's going to help a bit. There's plenty of parking around there. I don't exactly know what the answer would be for what the city should do, but I think they should have the support of the city. These businesses should.
The biggest support we can do for these small businesses is support our Chamber of Commerce to promote to small businesses. That is what their main function is to support small businesses, celebrate small businesses, invite new businesses to come in, and keep FEDC or any other people totally away from it. It is a private entity run by a private group. They should be supported by the city, which they were by hotel tax. That money needs to go back to Chamber of Commerce and let Chamber of Commerce support businesses. Yes, I support businesses. If you go to my Facebook page, you'll see I support businesses on that. But our Chamber of Commerce is broke. They don't get any money from the city. How can they promote? They are trying to be self-supported, trying to raise their own money. But the Chamber of Commerce is our biggest friend in supporting businesses.
Okay, and I'm going to touch on that because you've said the Chamber of Commerce is broken. Several of you've all mentioned throughout this process the city has no money, which brings the next viewer's question. So where did the money go? We've been paying taxes.
In 2008, two individuals in this town, Jesse Perez, who was in charge of FEDC, so to speak, he and the mayor at that time thought it would be fine, just let's get rid of this Chamber of Commerce and use that money. We could use it at the event center. That was passed by the city council in 2008. And one of my greatest concerns for the city is reestablishing a funded city council for this town. The city council needs funding from the hotel motel tax or other entities. That's where they were getting their funding from. They're using that funding for the event center. That's not what it was set up for. So, and the people that are now involved in the Chamber of Commerce are just struggling every day of the week. They have no capital to work with, and they're trying to do things for the city that the city doesn't have the mechanics to do by itself. If you were downtown this past Saturday, you saw all the people down there and the various vendors. You need a Chamber of Commerce that has some money that can put these events together and promote, and it helps the people in the town and it helps the town, period.
Mr. Nissen, you're the numbers man.
The biggest problem we have is the cities, depending how you want to look at the combination, they're in debt $24 million to $32 million, depending. Say we were in debt $24 million. Well, the taxes that we raised, the city still was short this year about $1 million to make the bills. All of our money, they refinanced the event center 3 or 4 times. All of our general fund money that is extra goes to the event center paying bills, just to pay the debts on it. You can't use water money. That's a dedicated fund. You can't use garbage. That's a dedicated fund. The streets is a dedicated fund. So it's our general fund that supports police, city hall, and the event center and all the employees. There is not enough money coming in. And yes, we pay a lot of taxes, because I know I pay taxes. All that money goes to the event center. It's not generating enough income. It had more income generated prior, but we had one man that came to work to do real good. All of a sudden the roof started leaking. 6 months, it didn't do anything. We ended up hiring another person, but he couldn't move into town, so he got terminated. We have another person right now. He is great in sports. He's doing the best job as he can do, but you got the COVID virus. So we're going to be hurting even more coming up, because we got 6 months, 8 months, ever how long this virus has been going, barely any income going in there. But all of our money goes to our bills, and you can go on the internet and you can go look at the financial budget, and you can go see where all the money is being spent. And when you go look at the event center, it's where all your money goes.
Okay. Ed.
Where's all the money gone? Well, I hope it's buried out there somewhere. I couldn't tell you. I'm not currently sitting on council. I don't pay close enough attention. And when I say close enough attention, I'm talking about like eagle eye on the budget, like Nick. I couldn't tell you where the money's gone, but I know where we can make money, and part of that would be, like Nick said, out of the convention center, working with the individual who runs it now to, you know, get that rodeo thing going again, get more events out there, get more sports. And he's already got a lot of that going. We just need to get that advertised, you know, do things that will improve that and get other forms of income. I mean, to answer the question though, I can't tell you where the money's gone. You know,
Okay.
that's
And that question brings us to another one, because we've touched on the event center, and you say where the money's going. So can the event center rental fees be reconstructed to reach more people? The fees are high and unaffordable. This is in this viewer's opinion. Perhaps we could bring in more money if the rental fees were lowered. So Mr. Sack, what do you think?
Well, personally, I think we should sell the event center. That's number one. Number two, that has been a burden on the city since it was created in 2004. It's hard to have. Well, we could have different fees out there and everything else. But we have to have people that would be out there, the city promoting the event center, and everything we've tried so far, or everything the city's tried so far, and a lot of well-meaning people have tried so far, has not worked with the event center, which I would be much in favor of having the event center sold to some entity that could actually use it and promote it.
Ed, what do you think?
I've heard a lot of opinions regarding the event center. I've had one person seriously tell me that we should go down to Kickapoo and tell them, hey, come make a casino, you know, make us some money. All of these are crazy, and some are, you know, valid, good points, you know, great ideas, but I don't know how that. I think what it is we need to decide what that is to us. Is it a community center, or is it a convention center? You know, is it going to make the city money, or is it going to cost us money and it's going to bring enjoyment to the city? Because if it's the latter, and we're supposed to be enjoying that, then we need to work to make. We need to use it more. We need to utilize it more, and do more things for the community. Because I never see myself going out there. I went for the cowboy breakfast. It's the last time and the only time I can think of going. You know, so obviously COVID is a problem. So I don't think that the event center is on an even playing ground. You know, I do think that it has its challenges, but right now it's a huge cost of money, and I don't know what we can do, but it's something that we need to take a look at, and we need to do something.
Okay, Mr. Nissen.
Okay, first thing is we'll never be able to sell the event center because we owe $14 million on it, and we cannot sell it until all the bonds are paid off, and the bonds are financed for 30 to 40 years. Second thing, my mind went blank on the person that ran it, and then he got terminated, and we brought Mr. Rodriguez in. He did a financial cost on it. When you have two people having to work each event, you have insurance on it, you got electric on it, you got water, you got toilet paper, you got your refrigeration running, you have an hourly expense that people can't stand. You know, I can't remember what it was, but it was like, if it's open, it's running a minimum of $160 an hour. That's not even having a person come in there. If that's just running, doors are on and the people in there, but I don't hold me to that number anymore. But you have such a fixed high cost that I know the wedding prices had to go up. Yes, and it was nice to see it at $800, now it's $1,400. They did it because they got to pay salaries. And the two people out there, you got to remember, somebody's got to do payroll, somebody's got to do HR for them, somebody's got to maintain the streets, somebody's got to maintain the grass. You have a lot of things out there that go in it, and when you break it down to a 40 or a 60-hour week or a 70-hour week, how much it costs per hour, that's got to be billed someplace. Yes, there's not an event center in the United States that makes money. My wife did this for a living, but it's never lost this amount of money like this one does either. The rent is real reasonable. Can it give discounts? Yeah, but we're going to be losing more money than what we are now. You know, I think we're lucky to make $400,000 last year. We can't keep losing money.
Okay. Mr. Sack.
Well, I've said my piece. I know what Nick has just said, but I'd be in favor of trying to work with some other entity to unload this piece of debt.
Okay.
So we tried the YMCA and they couldn't afford to make it work
Yeah.
because we had to pay them too much money.
Okay. We have another question. Where do you see the most change is in the budget would be needed?
The most change in the budget? Well, the budget is skimpy. There can't be any more changes. I am not for defunding the police, and that's part of our big budget. I am not for that at all. That's got to stay there. The salaries we're paying the city manager and HR and stuff, it's a competitive price. It's not like they're making a lot more money than the Cuero people. I know what they make. Our city manager and our HR person doesn't make that. But they do maybe have to see about taking a price cut. We have people that have been there forever making like $12 an hour. Some of them need to go. We do not have a COLA. We do not have a merit raise. We just have, hey, how good are you? We're going to give you a little bit. And then the COLA, we look at it and say 3%. Well, let's give people 1%. I don't know where you can trim any of the, if I say trim one person off the admin, I don't know. I'm not right at the budget right now. But right now I do know the amount of people and the money they have going into repairs on the parks and streets and motor. There's no money there. I don't know where you can trim anymore. The only place you trim money right now with this budget is what Ms. Turner did. Lay off 16 people, and that trimmed $450,000. There's no other place that's going to be able to trim money.
As long as we're back to the event center, as long as that event center and that property out there has been a financial drain on this city since the day it was built. Now, I know Nick is absolutely correct. We can't sell it until we pay off the bonds, which we're not going to be able to pay off. So I think we should talk to some people and see what we can do to lower our expenses on that by having another entity run it and use it for purposes that maybe we don't even think about. But right now, I think the city would be in much better shape, period, without that event center draining all the money out of it.
Okay.
I mean, obviously stated we need to cut spending, whether that be by the FEDC or by whoever. I can't tell you exactly where. I just know that we need to have a conservative mindset coming into things. Any deals, anything that we do, we need to look at the dollar amount and we need to look at the red numbers and remember that with everything that we do until we're green.
Okay. And you've touched on the event center again in this previous question. We did have a viewer who's made the point that it's funded by a 1/4-cent sales tax. Any responses to that comment, Mr. Nissen?
Yeah, the 1/4-cent sales tax only brings in about $300,000 to that location, and our payments and our bills is over $1 million a year. So you got a gap between 300 to $1 million, and that's the general fund. The general funds put in so much, but it didn't have enough to put in. The city's general fund was short by itself $279,000 this year. The event center was short $1.1 million this year. So with the 1/4% sales tax of, say, a good number, $350,000, you got $700,000 you're short. And the sales tax, our sales tax are maxed out. We can't raise them any higher. Yeah, there's a lot of user fees there's a lot of things Mr. Prez can do out there. But here's the problem Mr. Prez has. Mr. Prez is one man. He can't do everything they want him to do. His heart's in the right place. His vision's in the right place. But he can't run that size of operation by himself or with a one office person helping him. There needs to be at least 3 people out there running it. Yes, we had a person out there running it before, but yes, it's lost money every year. But in order to make this work, they need to have people that will go out and promote, bring in businesses every day and every night, rent out every classroom every night. Mr. Perez, his hands full with that. Now they added the sports park to him. This man's going to be gray-haired, worse than me. We need 3 of Mr. Perez's out there for. He can only do so much, and he's doing the best he can. But I know it's overloaded his brain.
I think that there's a bit of confusion here. Nick hit it spot on with the difference between the maximum amount of sales tax that we collect in a year versus the amount that we have to pay. You know, it's easy to say, hey, this is funded by this, but you know, I can't go and say, hey, this car is funded by this $100 bill. It's not enough. It's insufficient, and you know, you need to have, if you're going to be in this seat, you need to have enough foresight to understand that. And I mean, that's simple. It's just insufficient. You know, the quarter tax is not fully funding it. It's just partial.
We need 30,000 people in this. We need 7,000 homes in order to justify that building. And we're only 2,500 homes. And we're only roughly 10,000 people. So this city's got to grow a lot in order to support that size of building.
Okay, related to the numbers we've just discussed, we have a commenter that says that the sales tax brings in $450,000 and the bond is $320,000. How would you respond?
Okay, sales tax is 450. They still lost 1.1 million. That's still 600,000 is short. But the bond of 300,000 bond, I don't know where you're getting that bond because we have more bonds on that. We got more loans on that, and it's not 300,000. If you're talking about a payment, possibly, but that has about $10 million debt on it. So there's bonds on that place. It's just not a $300,000 bond on it. That's really misleading. Okay, so the sales tax is $450,000, but we're still short $600,000 on making the payments and making salary. And we got a lot of bills on that because it's been refinanced 3 to 4 or 5 times. I don't remember how many times.
That sales tax, I don't know if that was 2019 sales tax, but I'd be a little conservative on that number this year. You know, considering we're going through a pandemic.
Mr. Sack, any further comments on that? No? Okay. One more question. So, if elected, how do you propose to build coalitions on the council? And I'm going to start with you, Beth.
Elaborate on what do you mean?
To work with the other council members.
Okay. So, like I said, I don't believe in the well-oiled machine. Everybody, you know, scratch your back, scratch my back. No kickbacks, none of that, right? I'm running an anti-corruption campaign. I want to be able to sit there and, even if it takes all night, argue it or debate down to what it's going to take to get stuff done, right? I think that even if all 3 of us were to clean sweep, get elected, we still have our opposition. I think that we're going to be great. We're going to be good to go. Even us 3, I guarantee you we're not going to agree on everything that comes up. I don't know what else I can say.
Well, I think the 3 of us, from what I can surmise, are somewhat fiscally very conservative, okay? And I think we're looking at helping the city. I know that's what I want to do. I know that's what Nick wants to do, and that's what Ed wants to do. We want to help the city. We certainly don't have any ulterior motives of getting involved in other things that might affect us financially to a positive degree. And I think we're going to have to take a look at a lot of decisions that have been made over the last few years and deal with them and just make living in the city a little bit better, so we can concentrate on things like the roads and the sidewalks and things that matter to the people.
When you are a moderate to conservative financial person and you're with a council person that is a liberal that believes everything should be free and they don't look at numbers, sometimes it's hard to have a coalition work together. But I did work together with certain people. Me and Mr. Ortiz don't see eye to eye on a lot of stuff, but we did agree on some things. Me and Gerard Jimenez, I liked him. We worked on a lot of stuff together, and we agreed on some things. We disagreed on some things, but we always laughed at the end of the day. We will never get along with 100% of the people. There's only 5 of us. If all of us got along perfectly, there's something wrong. Like right now, when you look at, there is no debates. They asked a question, they already made the vote, they already seconded. They don't have any discussion. So how do they know how they're going to vote? How do they know what the outcome's going to be if they're not led by somebody? I can't win by a factual number because people just believe, like I say, some of them believe, well, we got to help the citizens, and then out of the next breath, they raise the ad valorem tax. It's hard to understand some people. A lot of them just don't see the whole picture of numbers.
Okay. And I believe that's our final question for the evening. So what we're going to do now is give each of you an opportunity to share what you stand for, why folks should vote for you, and how people can find out more about you. So we'll start with Mr. Villarreal.
Okay, thank you for tuning in, and thank you for, if you've made it this far, you're considering voting for us, or you really hate us, one or the other. But thank you for paying attention. Again, I mean, from what you've heard tonight, you can tell what I stand for. I want to set our city straight. I want to get people in positions that they excel in. I want to make sure that our boards are filled out correctly. I want to make sure that our convention center and the area behind it, the sports complex, is utilized. I want to make sure everybody, you can't keep everybody happy, but I want to make sure the majority are happy. I want to make sure that my constituents are happy. The people who support me, I will remember you. I'm not going to scratch your back when you scratch my back, but you give me a call at any time, 830-391-5580. I will answer, or you leave a message and voice your concerns. Ask me questions, and I'll answer them. Please go out and vote. You can go out to the annex, and when you're done voting for the president, you just continue, take a right, second door on your left. You can go to City Hall. Just make sure you vote. I think that's about it. Thank you very much.
I agree with you 100% on getting out the vote, and that's number one important thing. And thank you for this opportunity tonight. I'm looking forward. I know Nick fairly well, and I'm getting to know Ed pretty well, and I know where he comes from, so I feel very comfortable. And I think we just want to get down to basics. We're not going to create any miracles, but we're going to discuss things in the open in city council meetings. And we're going to have to be able to explain it to everybody why we're doing this or not doing that. That has to happen in city council meetings, and I just have to state that I've viewed a number of city council meetings lately, and that is not happening. So I just urge everybody to go out and vote. Voting at the Wilson County Complex election place on next to the library, you can vote for all your offices, state and county and the city council.
Okay.
I come across sort of abrupt, whatever you want to say, mean. I'm not. My heart goes out to a lot of people. I grew up with a dad, sold fuller brush, and worked at a gas station for a living. I moved out of the house when I was 18, went in the military, and then my dad's whole life turned around when he decided, oh, I got to do something, and he became super successful. I didn't have the pleasure. I remember my first check in the Army was $42 a month. So I do think about lower income people, and I really think about seniors. And I was told by a man I met here in town, I really think a lot of, think about them, how much it's going to affect them on their pocketbooks. That's why us keep raising the ad valorem tax is going to kill these people. And the thing about it, somebody says, well, I just rent, I don't have to pay it. I guarantee you, the owner of that house is paying it, and he's charging you for it in the rent. We have to think about these people that are here in our town, because our town does not have a high income rate. I think it's like $15 an hour. It's not much when you go to San Antonio. I do think about it. I'm not as harsh. I am a numbers person, and more that likely is black and white. But I am very easy to talk to. If you can find me real easy. If I'm not doing anything, I'm on the golf course playing golf. But I don't want to scare people, but I do know that I want to stay here the rest of my life. And I do know if 6 more years goes up another $700-800, it's ridiculous. I'm going to be selling, and I'll move. I don't want to. I love where I'm at. I love this town. I love HEB and Walmart. But I do think about everybody that I'm going to affect. Thank you. And vote for me, please.
And where can people find out more about you?
On Facebook, I have a page. You can either find me, Ed Villarreal, or my page that's connected to me, Eduardo Ortiz Villarreal. You can email me at eduardoortizvillarreal@yahoo.com. I have business cards and door hangers that have been going out, as do these guys. You shouldn't have trouble finding us. I don't know if you can find our name in print somewhere, I'm sure, how to spell them. So you'll get a hold of me, I'm sure.
Indeed.
I'm Paul Sack. I do have a Facebook page. I just made some releases today. I'm a novice at it, okay? It's the second time I did a posting. I have an email address, which is pwsack@gmail.com. And love to hear from people and get opinions.
Yeah.
I got 2 Facebooks accounts, Nick Nissen for Floresville, and then Nicholas, Nicklas Nissen, or Nick Nissen to Floresville. And it'll be the one with me standing in front of 2 trucks. And you can find my phone number, I'll give it to you. I don't have a problem. 361-876-1815, my cell phone. My emails are all on the Facebook page. Get a hold of the mayor. She's got a direct line. And you can find me there too, because I know everybody has the mayor's Facebook page or phone number, more likely the phone number.
Okay, and I'm Nanette Kilby-Smith, editor with the Wilson County News. I want to thank Nick Nissen, Paul Sack, and Eduardo Ortiz Villarreal for joining us this evening for our live Floresville City Council Candidates Forum. All 6 candidates who are on the ballot for your vote were invited to participate. These 3 accepted the invitation this evening to be here and reach you through this forum. You can meet each of them in this week's issue of the Wilson County News, the October 14th issue, along with a number of other candidates in other races seeking your votes. Pick up the Wilson County News this week with our Candidates Forum in print. There's more information about these 3 candidates, other candidates on the Floresville City Council ballots, and other candidates in the local races up to the presidential race, along with other measures that are being considered in our county and in our state. So we thank you for staying with us this long and for participating with your questions by viewing this, by reading about these gentlemen and other candidates in the paper. Thank you again for your time this evening. Good night. God bless you, and God bless our country.
excuse me.